Hello and welcome back to Statement Games Live. This is episode 3. My name is Nathan. I'm here today with my co-host Mark. What's going on, Mark?
What's going on? How are you?
Doing well. How was your week? How was your fantasy gambling this week?
You know what? You ever kind of have like one of those weeks here where you just kind of feel like you just get punched in the gut, and it takes like a couple of days just to kind of pick yourself off the mat here. So there's certain things that you look forward to on a day in day out basis, especially if you're rooting for a team and they're fortunate enough to make the playoffs. So I was so looking forward to that Game 5 Yankees Tampa Bay game. They, obviously, another, heartbreaker. Chapman gives up another, home run, late. So it brings back some painful memories of what took place last year in Houston. And that kind of gets followed up with, and let me just kind of ask you a personal question. Like I understand that there's strong arguments that can actually be made about how there's some pretty bad teams in the NFL, right? But can the Giants ever win a game? Like, is that possible? Are they ever going to win again? It's a true fashion, and I don't want to hear about, the Jet fans and all right, you know what, the Giants, you've won your 2 Super Bowls, but there's just like a reoccurring, pattern. And when you have the label of being like the worst team in football statistically from a wins-loss perspective in the past 4 years, it pisses you off. True fashion. They have an opportunity to win the game. Not only do they have an opportunity to win the game here, they get the ball back with 2 minutes left to go against the Cowboys. 2 timeouts, ball back, minute left on the clock, plenty of time. You're moving the ball pretty consistently throughout the course of the game here. You kind of feel as a fan, you got a legitimate shot to pull something out here. Not only do they not score, not only do they kind of just hold the team at bay and maybe you take your crack in overtime here, you give the ball back against and granted, Andy Dalton's perennial starting quarterback in the NFL for the past years here, but you're going up now against a backup quarterback, and hey, you know what? It's not to say that you don't feel bad for Prescott or Lorenzo Carter on the Giants here. You don't want anybody to kind of get hurt here, but you got the backup in the game here. You have an opportunity to win. Not only do you not get the game into overtime here, you wind up losing the game on another last-minute field goal. And it just seems that something like that is in the Giants' bag of tricks for the past 2 or 3 years here. It's not only losing games. It's losing these games on, 60, 61 last-minute field goals or, boop, boop, 2 plays of 25-yard passes down the field here, and great passes, great catches made by the Cowboy receivers here. But it's another team lining up with 3 seconds to go on the clock here. Perfect snap, ball gets up, looks like it's going to drift a little right here, sneaks its way back into the goalpost here, and you're just punched in the gut. I just can't take it anymore. We're getting punched in the gut. And how did my week go? My week sucked. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I was watching that game, and you all should have won it, especially after Prescott went out. I mean, that was a horrific injury. I could not bear to, replay after replay of seeing that was disgusting. But I mean, hey, man, I feel you. I'm a Lions fan. They're perennially bad. So I get it. But you know what isn't bad for everyone out there? Don't forget to subscribe to the Statement Games YouTube channel. Get this show and other great content. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a comment about what you like or what you think we can improve on the Statement Games Live. So, Mark, why don't you go into why people should be listening to the show, taking in what we have to say?
Look, you know what? We're obviously a new show here, but I am the CEO and founder of StatementGames.com, which is a free-to-play alternative form of fantasy sports. It's a product that we've worked really hard on for the past couple of years. It's live. www.statementgames.com. If you're not a web person here, there are apps to complement the website. You're playing, games. We're presenting you with a list of 50 to 60 different props as it relates to a specific sporting event. You're picking 10 statements. You're ranking them in order of competence from 10 through 1. You'll earn points for questions that became that become correct as that sporting event plays out. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a better idea of how the game is actually played. We'll be talking about a couple of different games later on in the show here, but as far as I'm concerned here, we're one of the only free-to-play games that are on the market today here that still gives you an opportunity to win cash rewards or cash kind of like, prizes. So hopefully, we get some people checking it out and, following along with us as we make strategic picks over, games that we point out on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got an announcement as far as the tournament that my company, IDP Guys, sponsors. We put out a tournament for the Sunday night football game and give away a jersey on the show. So just as a second announcement, because we announced it on our show,
just
you're going to put that one out
as
there.
a recap, correct. It's a good thing. It's in my show notes here. I already forgot about it here. I'm still kind of like worked up over a home run that Chapman kind of like gives up here, and I have kind of like visions of field goals, last second field goals going through the uprights to lose games here. But as you had mentioned here, we do run specialized tournaments that potentially give people an opportunity to win something a little bit more than just coins that can be exchanged for cash rewards here. So a big congratulations to Mr. Nice Guy 111, who was announced as the winner of last Sunday night's Statement Games IDP Guys tournament, which took place between the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. So in addition to the allotment of coins that they've won by playing that tournament that can be exchanged for cash rewards here, hopefully they reach out to us here and kind of communicate what type of NFL jersey that they would like, because they officially won a NFL jersey of their choice.
Nice. Yeah. No, it's awesome. And we'll go further into detail, recapping like how our picks ended up in that tournament, as well as you've got, some thoughts that you wanted to talk about here.
We're just gonna pile on kind of like the ever evolving pile of crap that kind of like gets thrown on to me as a result of last week. Some of it is look, it's constructive feedback, and I'm very fortunate in where the Statement Games community that's growing pretty much like on a daily basis. They're very passionate of sports, and they're passionate about the product. And when things don't necessarily go their way, I get called out on it. So, I mean, look, if you want to go ahead and pull up just one aspect of the Statement Games kind of app, I just want to kind of give a little bit of a review on a specific kind of feature, and I want to give it a little bit of a rationale as to why we're doing kind of what we're doing here. So from within the Statement Games app, as I had mentioned, you have the ability to win coins, and eventually your goal is to build up an account balance, and when you're ready, exchange those coins for a cash gift card of your choice. And this page right here kind of like gives you a little bit of a better indication of the types of prizes that you could claim. In total, there's probably about 85 different merchants that you can actually choose from. Anything from Amazon, Google, Nike, Under Armour. There's a variety of different merchants that you can choose from here. But in total, you need about 500 coins. You need to accumulate 500 coins, which equals about $5 before you can actually claim your first reward here. There's a limit of, you only have the ability to make 2 transactions per day. There's a minimum of a $5 cash gift card that you can cash out, and a maximum of a $25 gift card that you can cash out. And there's a small transaction fee, and this takes place directly through Apple and the Google Play Store here, but there's a 99-cent charge for the service that we're providing to claim kind of rewards here. And per some of the emails that have come into me over the course of the past kind of week here, I guess some questions around why do we need to kind of charge transaction fees? Well, Statement Games, we've kind of been running for about 2 years now, give or take. And unfortunately, we've had firsthand experiences, where I can tell you firsthand here that fraud and scamsters, they're real. I've seen a couple of different occasions, people trying to, get into the system, game the system, and ultimately try and deplete our rewards account
Hmm.
with all the rewards. And obviously, it puts strain on other users. So the 99 kind of cent charge here is really kind of meant as a deterrent, and where the fraudsters that are out there that try and game and hack the statement game system, it prevents them from kind of doing that here. And from a product perspective here, we definitely want to position ourselves as something that is kind of training you on what you can actually expect should you choose to move into a real-time gaming environment, or hey, maybe you find yourself in Las Vegas or Atlantic City, and you're making kind of a sports bet here. So basically, if you're making any type of win bet when you're betting with kind of the point spread. So for example, let's just say the Giants are 7-point favorites. Whenever that kind of happens again here, and you want to put a win ticket like on the Giants with the point spread here, on average the odd on that 50-50 proposition is minus 110. Basically meaning that if you bet $100 and you had a ticket now, $100 win ticket, and you happen to win that bet here, when you walk up to the cashier's table or the window where you're getting your funds from, when you kind of won here, you're actually getting 190 back here. So for the service of taking that bet, these casinos and sports books are taking like a little bit of a what they call it a vig, and
Hmm.
we're just kind of being consistent with what you can actually expect should you choose to one day enter into the real time gaming market. So
Yeah.
hopefully that gives some more insight.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, people also got to remember, like, you're not a charity. They come in, they get their 60 free coins, they get to play, they win, and then, they're cashing out. You know, there's a model in there for you to, start to replenish your funds to keep the games going, keep this whole thing uh, afloat. And, you've got to be able to, I think $1 is a pretty low fee when you're getting at least 5 to 25, $50 back, in a gift
Mhm.
card. So I think it's something that I don't know how anyone could be mad about that.
As you know, um, it's whether you're kind of dealing with PayPal or Google Play, or in my particular case, the great partner that we have with Tango Card, who helps us kind of power the reward system that we're currently
Hmm.
powering. Um, Anytime you actually have a computer call a server to make a financial transaction for all intents and purposes, although it's not really a financial transaction, all these guys, there are fees that built in that we kind of
Hmm.
need to incur as a result of giving you the free service. So I'm trying to keep it as friendly, as user friendly as possible here, but unfortunately, there are some basic costs that I need to start passing on as a company.
Hmm.
And hey, look, you know what? If just do the math here. For a $10 gift card here, you got to pay 99 cents here.
So you get
It's
$9
still
free.
a losing proposition for me.
Yeah.
But hopefully that just gives some people some more insight on some of the rationale behind the why we're doing what we're doing.
Sure. And to go even further into insight rationale, let's talk about Mark's nuggets of truth. So you prepared a topic for today's episode. You want to go into that?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure, what your feelings are here. And again, I don't want to turn this into a political show. I'm not necessarily, that big into the meat and the guts of politics here, but we are kind of, in an election year. And I just kind of remember when I was in the corporate space here. I used to work for an organization that was based out of London. So anywhere between
Mhm.
3 or 4 times a year, or basically once a quarter, I would fly from New York to London, and spend anywhere between a week to 10 days in at the home base here, just doing various different things here. Let me tell you something here. Um, a lot of people already know this here, but I think from an English perspective, it's a lot more prevalent than anything else, and that is these guys bet on everything. I mean,
Mm.
it's part of their DNA. It's part of their culture here. For the people who are listening here, I live on Long Island, and there's a big OTB presence, which is kind of like horse racing, kind of like little betting parlors, pretty much like spread out. And these betting parlors in England, it's almost like walking into a 7-Eleven or a deli, or at a much bigger scale. It's reminiscent of like an OTB. So from a European perspective and from a UK perspective, they are betting up the presidential election like crazy. So I'm not sure how you kind of feel about it, but for whatever reason it is, here in the U.S., specifically Atlantic City and Las Vegas, the major sports books of the casinos are not letting people or the general public bet on the presidential election, because they feel that there could potentially be some influence or some tampering, with the upcoming election.
Sure.
So I wanted to see, hey, you know what, with all this crazy stuff that's kind of going on right now, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's look at these. We got some election charts here, what the spread is and where where it's currently at. This is some interesting stuff for sure. I mean, personally, like betting on the election, I guess, I'd do it, whatever, I bet on just about anything if I got a chance. But what is so Michelle
So obviously
Obama
Biden's is a pretty heavy favorite, and again, I'm just kind of like looking at the presidential race here. So as of today, looks like it's come down like a little bit from yesterday, and where he was plus 200. Now, I'm sorry, he was minus 200. Now it's minus like 190, basically meaning you got to bet $190 to win 100. And from a Trump perspective here, it looks like $100 bet on Trump over in Europe could net you kind of like 155 back here. So I don't necessarily have a big dog in the race here. I really don't mind who wins or loses here. I just think from an entertainment perspective that some of these news shows and some of these political shows are just as good, if not better, than any reality TV that's currently taking place right now. I don't necessarily get myself worked up for it, but I remember when going to Atlantic City as a younger college student, and right after college, when the Trump casinos, whether it was the Trump Plaza or the Taj Mahal, was still prevalent in AC. And kind of like me and my friends here, we always made it a point to never gamble at a Trump-owned casino, just because you can't beat the Donald. You just can't beat Trump. So as a betting perspective, and to have like a little bit of fun here, if I had to bet here, I would actually have a little fun with the Trump plus 155, odd. But
yeah,
then again,
I mean,
here, I just
you never know, and it's one of those things where like it makes sense that it's pretty much illegal in the United States to bet on our election. For the longest time, you couldn't place much of any sports bets. I mean, the whole NFL team going to Vegas, the hockey team there, like these are all very new developments, new concepts, and Vegas was like a no-no place for generally all of our sports. They used to lifetime ban people in baseball for betting and throwing games back in the early 1900s. So it's not a new concept.
Yep, pretty amazing. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where that was completely taboo with regards to having a professional franchise, operate and reside in the city of Las Vegas, and that's pretty much turned itself literally on its head within the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the next segment here, where before we get into the making picks, where we're going to actually go through and pick up a lineup, we're going to talk about last week. So
yeah,
I'll review. Yeah, so let me review the game, how the game script went compared to what we were thinking, and then Mark, if you want to go pick for pick and
Sure.
tell everyone, who's the winner of the two of us and who still needs to work on his picks. So last week's game, Sunday night, we originally thought that this was going to be a very close game with Seattle going up early and Minnesota having to fight from behind. This was not the case. In fact, Minnesota went up early. 2 scores, or yeah, they had points on the board in the first and second quarter, keeping Seattle out of the end zone, out of the field goal, like not doing anything. And then the third quarter, Seattle bounces back with a vengeance, scoring 21 points. And then it came down to it. They won by Seattle finished the game winning by 1 point. And out of it, Dalvin Cook went down with a groin injury. So Alexander Mattison came in and had himself a game for sure. So we'll see where the Minnesota run game goes in the future. But it looks like Dalvin Cook's out for a little bit. So, Mark, what about our picks? How do we do?
Yeah, so well, obviously, some people did a little bit better than others, but when you kind of look at it from this perspective here, in looking at this game, I actually thought that Seattle would get a big and Minnesota would be playing kind of catch up here. So I thought that the margin of victory for Seattle was going to be like a lot bigger. Didn't turn out that way. So last week on the show here, you were projecting a fairly close game, which was
I got really lucky. I got really lucky with that.
Well, the point that I was actually trying to make is, as though it doesn't count as a pick for the official record, that's something that you kind of hit on, and it's not necessarily something that I was kind of projecting.
Sure.
So last week you actually had the incorrect point total. We had the point total at 57.5. You had the over. So the final score was 26-27. So we fell a couple of points short of the under on that particular pick here. You were correct in the fact that you had basically Minnesota plus 7.5. So that was the one pick that you actually got correct. But unfortunately, we could not necessarily get Justin Jefferson a couple of additional receptions. He wound up finishing the game with 3 total receptions, which obviously was not the over 4.5 receptions that you were projecting in your segment here. In my particular case, as we talked about here, and going back to last week here, I thought that the margin of victory for Seattle would be a lot better. If I had to pick here, I would have gone against you with the 7.5 point spread pick. I would have taken Seattle plus the 7.5 points, but wasn't my pick, and it was yours. And I wound up kind of locking in on Russell Wilson over 315 yards passing. That did not happen. So that's the one pick that I got correct. I'm sorry, that's the one pick that I got incorrect. The other two that I did hit on was I had Russell Wilson under 27.5 completions. That wound up being correct here, and the Seattle defense wound up pulling out 3 sacks here. So I hit on the Seattle defense over 2.5 sacks, giving me a total of 2 for 3, while you were 1 for 3.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how we do in the next week as we transition over to So this this week we are sponsored by the IDP guys once more. IDP guys is your #1 source in non-standard fantasy football. For more than 4 years, Nathan, Sean, and John have been providing year-round podcasts, articles, and premium data and rankings. Go to idpguys.org today and step up your fantasy game. So, Mark, it's your turn to give us the game script, what you're seeing out of this, the overview for the coming game.
All right, so I'm torn with this game. I'm kind of going in both directions here. So of course we're talking about the upcoming Rams versus 49ers Sunday night football game here. Pretty disappointing performance by San Francisco, again traveling from the West Coast going east. Pretty much got a smackdown by the Miami Dolphins, which looks like it's a team kind of like on the rise. They come back home to take on a division kind of like foe in the Rams. Rams are kind of like playing well. Rams are favorite in this game here, and rightfully so. But I kind of like see the 49ers going in two possible directions here. Is this the point where they could potentially be on a little bit of a skid, or do they bounce back here? So, and given the fact that these are division opponents, both teams know each other's script of personnel fairly well. I'm expecting this to kind of like going to be a tight, especially in I'm not sure if you can call it defensive game, but in today's NFL, a defensive oriented game here. So the narrative that I'm looking at this game here is not a lot of points and very, very close. That's kind of like what I'm looking at.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. So let's pick up and start placing our picks here. So right off the bat, we've got our bottom four. We've got the Rams defense of over 1.5 turnovers, Raheem Mostert under 75.5 rushing yards, Kendrick Bourne and Brandon Ayuk under 80.5 receiving yards, and finally Jared Goff under 2.5 touchdown passes. Since you led off with the overview, I'll give my first pick, and I'm going to go with, I think the Rams end up winning this. While it'll be close, I still think that they win by over 3.5 points.
All right.
Where would you like it?
Let's leave it at 10.
Let it ride at 10? Alrighty.
Yeah, let it ride at 10. I like it. Yeah, so the way I'm kind of like looking at it here, although I definitely feel like it's going to be a little tight. Point spread's not like that much here. I do feel that the Rams will move the ball. I think it's just going to be difficult for them to get into the end zone. So for my first pick here, I'm going to take Sam Sloman, and I'm going to take the over 1.5 field goals.
All right. I'm going to place that one right at 8. I think you're onto something there, and but I think there might be room for another higher pick, possibly. So where I'm going to go is, so George Kittle last week was kind of held back. I think that he has a little bit of a bounce back this game. I don't think it'll be crazy, but I will say it'll be over 6.5 receptions. Where would you like it?
I mean, definitely some issues at the quarterback position coming into Sunday night, right?
Oh, absolutely. So you're looking at either CJ Beathard or if they can still ride with Jimmy G, but at some point, who else do they have to throw at? They don't really have the greatest receivers right now. There's a lot of injuries, and Kittle's your best receiver. He was the best receiver going into the year, so they got to get him into the game script somehow.
All right. I mean, look, he's playing, so I guess the injury is like a little bit of a concern with mine. But if he's playing, he's playing. You can't necessarily take that into account here. You made a pretty decent point here, so let's just go ahead and leave that pick right there at number 9.
And number 9, alrighty.
Yep.
What do you got?
I'm gonna be just like taking like a little bit more of a traditional kind of pick with this one here. Again, I thought it was like gonna be low scoring, tightly contested, defensive oriented here. So let me just kind of lock in on the under 50.5 point total.
All right. And I'll let that ride at 7. I think you're right on with that. And I think part of that is going to be this defensive game, that while the San Francisco's pretty beat up on D, I still think that because this is a division game and these opponents see each other a lot, that the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to kind of figure it out and keep pressure on Goff and his receivers. But I do think on the flip side, Aaron Donald is too much of a specimen to look past, and that line is pretty amazing at getting him in position. So I'm going to put the Rams defense over 2.5 sacks.
All right, yeah, you can leave that at the highest possible slot that you can probably get to. And I would actually make the argument, if I can, to lock that in at the number 10 slot here. I just think this is something that the 49ers are struggling with here. They've given up 18 sacks in the past 5 games. That's basically, fourth in the NFL in terms of sacks allowed here. Donald is, I don't know, I guess definitely, in my opinion, the most talented defensive end in football right now. Monster game for him.
Absolutely. And actually, now that you bring it up, why don't we swap the George Kittle and the sacks?
There you
swap
go.
9 and 6.
It's a good compromise. Yep.
There we go. Cool.
I think it's a very big concern easy for San Francisco. Yeah.
Look how easy that was with the system.
It's a big concern for the 49ers. It's way for a team with their expectations. Granted, a lot of injuries and question marks, coming into the game here, but they should be better than that. I mean, 18 sacks in 5 games is a lot.
Yeah, and Aaron Donald doesn't care. If you saw what he did when Alex Smith came into the game last week, Alex Smith hadn't been hit in practice for 2 years since coming off that injury, and Aaron Donald jumped on his back to tackle him, to bring him down.
He's just fun to watch. He's a beast.
All right. So with that, why don't you wrap it up with the last pick?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not necessarily the sexiest pick here, but I mean, there will be some type of points kind of being scored. So I also like the San Francisco kicker, Robbie Gould, over 1.5 field goals. Don't like a lot of touchdowns. I don't like a lot of big plays here, but I think the teams, both of them, will do a fairly decent job in moving the ball. I just don't expect either of them to get into the end zone, which leaves a good spot, in my opinion, to be playing the Pickers in this Sunday night game.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, Robbie Gould, I use him in fantasy football. He's one of my go-to kickers when playing fantasy. So he's going to get his, I'm sure of it. And that's what he needs to kick 2 field goals. That's not that much, especially in a defensive game. Yeah. So with that, let's lock it in. We'll save it. We'll talk next week about how we did. Hopefully I'll be doing better this game than I did the last game. But this is fun. I enjoy it. It's good competition too. And hopefully at some point in the near future, we get some of our listeners involved.
Yeah, just let's see here. I know. What did we? I think we finished. I think we talked about this. We just missed it like a little bit here. We finished
for last week.
We finished in 6th place
with 31 points.
And our team kind of effort. So hey, look, 6 out of 12 is right in the middle of the pack here. But I think it's important to note that we did go 7 for 10 with our picks. It just happens to be that the picks that we actually missed, we had them, ranked, higher than our other picks here. So. Hey, those are the breaks. It's part of the strategy. It's part of the game. The same conditions, the same rules apply for this week as it did last week, and will continue to apply as we move forward here. So the way that this is going to work here is that anybody who's listening who wants to give this a try, you're more than welcome to do so. There are a number of different contests that are generated off of this one tournament that we play in. So on the IDP guys, podcast. What we do is we take all the contest winners or anybody who wins one of these, games specific to the 49ers and the Rams. We throw their name in a hat. You guys draw one of them, and basically, we will award a NFL jersey of your choice. Should we pull your name? But the condition is you got to win one of these contests on Statement Games here. And although we're talking about the Rams and the 49ers, it's literally an NFL jersey of your choice. So if you don't want somebody on the Rams or the 49ers, that's fine. If you're looking for an Ezekiel Elliott jersey or an Aaron Rodgers kind of jersey here, it's an NFL jersey of your choice. It's just got to be within reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, we're going to close out the show. Make sure if you're listening that you go to statementgames.com and you sign up. You get 60 free coins, gets you enough to play for quite a bit. Get into those contests. Make sure you're in the IDP guys tournament for that chance for the jersey. And then every day, spin the wheel and get more coins. Keep it up. Win, 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 win. That's the name of the game here. And to make sure you're winning, make sure you're following on all social media the Statement Games accounts at Statement Games. And also you can follow on Twitter at Marc Saulino for Marc's personal account. And then finally, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Statement Games Inc. Be sure to click the subscribe button below the video and then like and give us a comment. We'd greatly appreciate it. We're trying to really bring together a great show here for people to get an idea of what Statement Games is about and hear our takes on the gaming industry itself. So with that, Marc.
Yeah, and as you're dropping your comments, or if you have a chance, let us know what your picks are. I mean, do you agree with Nathan and I, or hey, you know what? Are there picks that I don't know you think are a little bit more relevant? We'd love to get your thoughts on what you think about the upcoming Sunday Night Football game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Marc. Until next week. See you, bud.
Catch you next week. Take care, guys.